Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 102 of 2025. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. Follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at The Oddsbreakers. Follow us on social media /The Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. If you'd like to support The Oddsbreakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. Pick any for winning cappers. Get their premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com, and if nothing else, please visit The Oddsbreakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. The NFL is back, and with fury, my friends. Nobody coming off buys, as last week was just loaded with Thanksgiving fun. But we do have some buys this week, and we have a great guest to go over all this NFL stuff in Will Hill from VSiN and the Shoulda Bet More podcast. We're going to talk about the full slate of games, some plays, maybe a little bit of college, and some long shots, as Will is just so good in the NFL prop market. So can't wait to talk to Will. But before Will comes on, I'm going to go over what I usually do, NFL ATS, see what's changed. I missed last week, as you know. Seattle is the top team at 9-3, and then we have some 8-4s in the Bears, the Rams, and the New England Patriots. The Jets, believe it or not, are 7-4-1, bunch of covering champs. Of course, when I bet them against Miami a week or so, a couple months ago, they couldn't even sniff a cover. But now they're one of the better covering teams. The worst teams, bunch of 4-8s, Las Vegas, Minnesota, New Orleans, Washington, and Baltimore, all 4-8 against the spread. As far as the totals, the biggest over team is Dallas at 8-4, then the Giants at 8-5, and it gets really thin after that. The biggest under teams are New Orleans 3-9, Houston 3-8-1, trying to hold on to that big spot, and Kansas City 4-8 with Denver 4-8. Those are your big under teams in the NFL. Well, we have a lot to talk about because we also have UFC coming up, a huge weekend that I'm going to cover at the end of this. So Devalish Fury is going to be fighting Jan. They already did that before. Mirab's beaten him, and he's a massive favorite in UFC 323, so I'm going to touch on some UFC at the end of this show. Without further ado, let's bring in our wonderful guest, Mr. Will Hill from VSiN. Now, I'm very excited to welcome back one of our top guests in Mr. Will Hill from Bear Bets, VSiN, and the Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can follow Will on Twitter at @NotTheWillHill, and we are cruising into Week 14. Will, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good, man. Yeah, you said it. The league in the season, it comes, it goes. I've been saying for college football, one minute it's Arch Manning at Ohio State Labor Day weekend, and you blink, and we're sitting here talking about Army-Navy game and conference championship week. So, it certainly goes by fast.
It certainly does. And December already. It's getting chilly even in Arizona. I mean, I'm not going to complain. 65 is okay to me usually, so I won't complain too much. But I'm sure it's you look bundled up in your North Carolina outfit over there.
Yeah, 65 beats 25. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not gonna play the violin too much for you. It's pretty chilly here.
I'm sure. Well, it is also chilly in the NFL as there's a lot of injuries. There's all kinds of like ifs, thens, buts, and if I could make this podcast 1 hour before and get views and listens, I would do it, my man. But it's just not the way it is. We have to work with the information that we're given, Will. So appreciate you making it on, and let's start right away with buy low, sell high. Any teams you're buying low on this week or the next up and coming weeks or selling?
It doesn't get any lower, does it, than my Minnesota Vikings? I actually like them this week against Washington. They have the much better defense than the Commanders. They're home. I don't think they're going to quit or give up. I mean, teams in the NFL usually don't do that, especially coming off a bad performance, especially at home, especially under coaching staff like Flores, who's a hard-nosed, fiery guy. O'Connell, I think, is a little bit overrated as a coach, but still a pretty solid coaching staff. Washington off a disappointing loss, but I just think the Minnesota defense probably the best unit of the four here. That's still a good roster. I mean, you look up and down. If they just had average quarterback play, if they had, I'm trying to think, who's an average quarterback? Mac Jones on this team. I mean, I don't know that they're like that much worse than the Bears. Could they be like a 9-10 win team if Mac Jones is the quarterback? They've got good skill guys, good defense. It's just the quarterback. It's like a car without a driver. It's going off the road here. So McCarthy back. I mean, it's better than what we saw last week. Maybe he can just throw the football in the general vicinity of an open receiver at some point here. But I'm buying low on the Vikings.
That's an interesting one. It's funny. I was actually kind of surprised to see them a little bit favored. So it's interesting. I don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play. I'm guessing no, right? But man, Dan Quinn's kind of making it sound like he can come back. I mean, he's practicing, he's throwing the ball. They just opened his practice window. I'm wondering if I buy low on Washington if he comes back at some point over the next 2 weeks. I don't know if I was going to buy low on him this week, but do you think the spread moves on that if Daniels is in? Yeah,
he's got to be worth something to the spread now. I mean, is he going to be fully healthy, back in the mix, or is there going to be some rest? By the way, I don't think he played like overly great. The limited action we've seen him this year, and is he going to be like willing to run with all the injuries? So I don't know that. The market will move. He certainly works something to the market. I think maybe even Washington the slight favorite. So I don't want that for my bet. I'd rather see Mariota, but I'm okay with the bet either way.
Okay, well, there you go. So Vikings buying low. Yeah, I mean, they can't get any low. And what's funny is that I was really looking at the Vikings this week. I thought that this is a home run, do or die, integrity. What are you doing out here playing football if you can't do anything type spot, And so I don't disagree with that. I also like maybe a teaser leg on either side. I'm going to buy low on the Raiders. It's hard to say that. But it's like, where is this Raiders team that in the beginning of the season, the Bears needed to block a field goal to win? They kind of hung with the Patriots and beat them in week 1. They beat the Titans by 10. They lost to the Jaguars by 1 point. Where's that team? It's somewhere in there. I don't know if this is the week, but they're sitting here at being at home plus 7.5, which is a pretty big team. And Denver's kind of that weird team that sometimes will, show up and sometimes they just do not cover. And I'm just looking at that one. But we'll get into this slate of games here then because lots going on. The Thursday game, to be honest with you, I like the under a little bit, Will. I know that a lot of teams are this is a situation where I think that the Cowboys defense has improved with those two big free agents trades that they made this Williams, and the Lions don't have that power offense without some of their guys, Laporta and probably St. Brown. If he doesn't play, or plays, he's going to be hindered.
To me, this comes down so much to what you said, the injury report. The St. Brown give it a go? I would think it was. I mean, this is pretty much not quite an elimination game like the Chiefs-Texans game is, that I'm sure we'll talk about. But if you win, you look at the schedule for either team. They're both in similar shape where if you win, you can squint and say, all right, maybe we can run the table and get in. If you lose, boy, you look at the NFC. 11 wins might not be enough to get you in. The NFC is really packed here at the top. So I would think St. Brown gives it a go. I like Dallas. I feel like we talk about buying low, selling high. I feel like I'm buying high on Dallas, but I look, if you're down 10 late, maybe you get a backdoor and you get a push. Will we get a 3.5? I'm not sure. I think the line's probably about right. I still lean towards the Cowboys, but again, so much of it is dependent on the injury report. And let's be honest, so much of it depends on the gambler. You and I like to gamble. Dan Campbell likes to gamble. These fourth downs, he's going to go for them. Is it going to, is he going to get a blackjack, or is he going to be, you'll be sitting on a 15 there. That's a lot of the game. That's obviously hard to predict ahead of time. So I lean towards the Cowboys. I thought about the under too, just with the improvement of the Cowboys defense. And I think they've played 4 straight unders. This new look defense has been an under machine. But that being said, I know a lot of sharp people made the case for the under last week in the Lions Packers game. That was 31-24. I could see a similar 31-24 game. So I passed the total, lean towards the Cowboys, but again, a lot of it depends on injuries.
All right. Well, a lot of it depends on injuries, and I agree. And, you're right, Dan Campbell, super high variant dude. Go for it on 4th and 5 at the 50. What's going to happen? Are they going to make it, or are they going to give another field goal or touchdown to their opponent? It's just so wacky with him. I just feel like the Cowboys, I scared to bet them on the road after such a big win against the Chiefs. I think it's a better spot for the Lions, but yeah, I get it. This line is probably correct, and it just kind of moved a little bit more towards the Lions, so maybe you do get that 3.5. It just literally moved on DraftKings as I'm watching it. It's -3, -118 now, so there you have it.
I will just one last thing on that. I would chime in. The Jameson Williams receiving prop is starting to tick down, 83.5 to 80.5, 79.5. Maybe that's an indication that somebody knows St. Brown is going to play, because when you see something like that, and I thought of it last week when St. Brown got hurt. DraftKings still left up a +600 on Jameson Williams to have 100+ yards when St. Brown got hurt. There's a cause and effect when you have that big of a receiver. If St. Brown's going to play, it's going to be hard for Jameson Williams. Not impossible, but hard for Jameson Williams to go over 80.5 yards. So maybe Jameson Williams' line ticking down is an indication that somebody thinks St. Brown is going to play here, which I tend to agree with.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, does that make him not hindered? We'll see. It could be. There's a lot of reasons. So I'm excited to see what happens in this game. Let's move on to the next game. Seahawks versus Falcons. Falcons +7, total 44.5.
Falcons probably the right play. I would need the 7.5. Cousins has been okay. You're fading Darnold on the road. Battle of former Viking quarterbacks here. I lean towards the Falcons. I don't have the stomach to pull the trigger. Seattle's a pretty good teaser leg, even though teaser legs on the road can be dangerous here. I would tease Seattle. I lean towards the Falcons, but probably not a game I'm going to bet.
Falcons are like one of the best teams as an underdog, and it scares me to go against that. It's so weird. It's like you bet on them as a favorite, they just crush you, and you bet on the Falcons as an underdog. They are 4-0-1 as an underdog. That's something I don't want to get involved in, I think the Seattle's getting some secondary back, and for some reason Seattle's just been way better on the road. Dude, the Falcons have killed me. Will, if you just take out Falcons bets in general over the last 2 years, I'm probably winning freaking contests, man. They are my nemesis. I'm staying away from it. Maybe tease Seattle down to -1. What's the next game? We have the Bucks hosting the Saints. Bucks -8.5, total 41.5. Is this too many points for a division game?
Probably, and quietly now, Baker Mayfield has not played well for quite a while. Some of it's the injury, but that's only recently. That Baker Mayfield for MVP buzz, that was the story for the first month, 6 weeks of the season. That has died down in a big way. I like the under. Division game, the Saints aren't lighting the world on fire offensively. Baker's beat up. That was a game, the Bucks last week. If you look, they won the game, but they did not really win the statistics. Going to be hard to get to 43+ points. I think this is more of a 20-13 type of game. I lean towards taking the points, and I like the under 42.5 more than anything.
I don't disagree with that. I would look for the under, sure. Saints might even score 9 points for the whole game. You don't know. This is kind of an ugly Saints team, and they had to backdoor the Miami Dolphins last week because the Dolphins just let them do it, basically. It's just, I was feeling good about Dolphins -5.5, up 16-0, but that ended up going south on me last week. Bills -5.5, total 53.5.
Can the Bengals do it? Can the Bengals make a run here? I'm not laying the points with the Bills. Bills, similar to the Falcons, a team you just don't trust. A good win last week against the Steelers. I lean towards Cincy. I'll give you a prop, though, because I'm indifferent there. I lean towards the Bengals. I'll go Burrow over 35.5 pass attempts. I think he threw the ball 46 times last week, and that was not like, hey, we're losing, we got to throw it every time. That was by design. He's hurt. Let's get the ball out of his hands. He can't move as well. Quick passes, short passes. Let's move the chains. 35.5 in a game where the script might be them playing from behind, giving up a lot of points, having to throw to catch up. I think short, quick passes, a lot of quantity for Burrow. I like over 35.5 attempts. I would take Cincy if anything.
Likely snow showers on this game. Could be under. I like the Bills. This is a massive number though. If it's going to snow, I'm telling you, man, this 53.5. I'm going to go a little bit deeper, but right now it says likely snow showers, 29 degrees. And I like the Bills because I think Cincinnati coming off that Ravens win, Burrow back, fired up, boom, play great. This Bengals defense is still the worst in the league, and we can have a whole 2 podcasts about Lamar, but I think that the Bills are in a spot where they're just going to kind of put the pedal to the metal and run the ball with White and take care of this. I think the Bills' offensive line's still better, and I don't think that Burrow's going to be able to throw the ball if it is snowy in this game. Steelers, Ravens -6, total 42.5. I'm not going to lie, Will. I've went back and forth on this one, and it's bugging me.
I like the under. If you look at the games these teams played, I know the last regular season game last year went over. The other 9 out of the last 10 all went under, and they all went way under. This total, any of the totals, it's all 20-10, 17-13. These games are ugly. They're close. They're low scoring generally. And Lamar looks hurt. Now, maybe he'll have one of these weeks where he's got extra rest and he starts to look like the dynamic player we remember, but he can't run. He can't escape. That really limits their offense. That limits him. And Rodgers looks shot. So I have a shot quarterback on one side, a hurt quarterback on the other side. Tomlin is a conservative coach. You're not getting the best of the number. This keeps continuing to trickle down, but I still like the under here. I think we get a typical Steelers-Ravens battle.
Heard Rodgers brought a bunch of guys from the Steelers, his running backs and receivers, over to his house on his birthday to go over plays and stuff like that. Maybe he gave them some peyote or some mushrooms or something like that, and they had a great time. I have no idea, but I found that funny. But here's the thing: I also think that's normally kind of a buy spot in a way. It's like even getting that camaraderie going, everyone's a little bit better for the next week. I don't know what to think about this. I lean the Steelers, lean the under for sure. I like your play on that. Colts, Jaguars +1.5, total 47.5. I'm just telling you, I went back and forth on this too. I think the Colts are in just a much better get the hell up spot, and the Jaguars can exhale a little bit, and so that's a fade spot. But it's this Jaguars, I think they finally found a coach, and I like the teaser leg with the Jaguars.
Love the teaser leg with the Jags. I think the wrong team is favored here. I'll take the Jags. I mean, getting the 1.5 is not like a huge deal, but who knows? We've seen it with these overtime rules now where most teams are going to go for 2. If you go second, that 1.5 is more valuable than it's been in the past. I just think either the league has caught up to Daniel Jones or Jones is hurt or some combination of the two. They have not looked like themselves for a while, dating back to a month or so ago against the Steelers where they got shut down. Texans shut them down. They should have beaten the Chiefs, but that was a game where they got statistically dominated. I like the Jags here. I think the wrong team is favored, and a little bonus, Colts +240 to miss the playoffs. Look at their schedule. They get the Jags twice, the Texans, the Seahawks, the 49ers. 2-3, 1-4. I mean, this might go off the rails here for Indy.
Dude, ever since that second half of the Chiefs, Jones looked like a deer in the headlights, man. Just staring, just kind of like scared in a way. I love your Colts missing the playoffs. I wish I got it a couple weeks ago. +240 is a great price on that. And to be honest with you, my numbers have the Jags -1.8. So I'm with you, man. Completely with you. Possible contest play for me. Titans, Browns -4.5. Another snowy game. It looks like total 33.5. What do you have to do to grab this, my friend?
I'm not laying points with Sanders. It would be Titans or nothing, but I'll go, and they could both win. I'll go Titans team total under 14.5. Browns second in the league yards per game allowed. That's a really good defense, especially at home. The Titans showed some signs of improvement in previous weeks, but last week just got back to being embarrassed. So under 14.5. If they score 17 points, you beat me. It's going to have to be turnovers by Sanders because I don't think the Titans can manufacture enough offense on their own to score 17 points.
I agree. I think the Titans are just so lost right now. I like the Browns at a better number. I think 4 is somewhat key, so I'm not liking it as much at 4.5. I think I'd see this to be like a 17-13 kind of game, Will. 20 to maybe it's 20-17 or something like that. I don't know. That under sitting there pretty low at 33.5. I don't want to mess with that too much, but that lean to the Browns for me. Dolphins, Jets plus 2.5, total 41.5. Will, I was looking at the ATS. I'm like, what? The Jets 7-4-1? What? Not the games I bet them on.
The Jets have been good. Jets have been good to me too, and it's not been a great year for me NFL wise, but the Jets have been good to me, especially recently. Taylor is a covering machine. Their special teams are really good, and we are sitting here in December, a week or so into December, a few days into December. The Jets somehow have not recorded an interception, and they've recovered about 20% of all possible fumbles. The Jets are still underrated. The Jets are still due for some turnover luck. Tua, I know it's not going to be crazy bad weather, but Tua outdoors has been notoriously bad. I know it's like high 30s, low 40s. That was at least the last weather forecast I saw. But still, his ball doesn't cut through the cold air, the wind, things like that. I'll take the points with the Jets. I think these teams are pretty similar, pretty even. Folk doesn't miss for the Jets, the field goal kicker, so I'll gladly take the points. I mean, when you're getting 2.5, you're better off waiting to see if you can get a 3, even if it's a juice 3, because that 3 is such a key number, as we've seen time and time again. But it's Jets for me, Kev.
I love it, man. I wonder if it even goes up to a 3, but 2.5 plus 100 right now at DraftKings, and this is definitely a game that I was looking at because my numbers don't have it that high. You know, it's pretty close to pick 'em for me. And Jets, if they can just get out of their own way. But Tyrod Taylor, you know, the guy has less variance than Fields. Fields, I believe, would just completely give up the ball in too many times, too many opportunities. Well, here's the one: Commanders versus the Vikings, and the Vikings are minus 2.5. The total is 42.5. You kind of already cat out of the bag for you on this one.
Yep, I tip my hand. I like the Vikings. I'll take the better defense. They're 11th in DVO. The Commanders are 27th. They're home. They're off an embarrassing performance. I just think this is a better roster for Minnesota. I don't love the idea of laying points with J.J. McCarthy, obviously, but I think this is a good spot for Minnesota here. I like them.
J.J. McCarthy's been so bad that you have to wonder if just by accident those receivers can catch some of his passes this week, man. I mean, it's funny. I saw a stat that if you throw the ball into the ground every single play, the QBR is higher than the last 2 quarterbacks with Brosmer and McCarthy. It's pretty embarrassing for a Vikings fan. I apologize. I've been there for years as a Bears fan. I know the feeling. But there's nowhere to go but up for the Vikings. Great teaser leg, in my opinion, for Washington. I didn't get there yet, but I do think that Daniels has a shot to play this week. You're not going to know until Friday night, Saturday morning, according to their coach, Dan Quinn. Raiders, Broncos. Raiders plus 7.5, total 40.5. I have to do it. I'm going to take the Raiders, Will, plus 7.5. I'm not super happy about it, but this Broncos team just needs to win and move on to keep that lead. But now the pressure is mounting on this team. Sean Payton is not the greatest X and O's or clock management type coach. I have too much respect for Brock Bowers and Crosby, and I just kind of think that this could be that game that they show up here. Probably won't have a home field advantage, but yeah, this Raiders team. The spot is what I like more than just their straight numbers. This is an embarrassment spot for them.
Yeah, and the Broncos have a good home field advantage, and these teams met about a month ago in Mile High, and it was a toss-up game. The Broncos won 10-7 in that game we all want to forget and regret watching. If you look at the Broncos' results away from home, I believe they have 2 losses to the Colts, to the Chargers, and they have 4 wins. Their 4 wins are all by 4-3, 2-1. So they have not won a game by more than 4 points on the road. They also have a home win against the Giants where they need a miraculous comeback to win by a point. You got to take the points with the Raiders. As ugly as it is, it's hard to justify laying this kind of number with Knicks on the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, Denver has not really performed in a lot of these road situations quite as well as they should have. Even though the closing line's 2-1, I think this closes at 7. I can see this coming down. Here's my game, Bears-Packers. Packers minus 6.5, a little juice to the 6.5. It's been teetering with 7 a little bit this week, Will. The total's 44.5. I have not gotten to the window. I mean, I'm a Bears fan, and I believe that they're a bit fraudulent still. There's something about that coach, and they will take this game very seriously at the Packers. And it's also like a situation where they could also let down and shit the bed, and the Packers are pissed. Dude, I don't want to tease this game. I think I want nothing to do with this game.
Yep, I'm indifferent. Haven't made a bet. The one I would recommend, Bears first quarter getting a half a point. The Bears have chose to take the ball when they win the toss pretty consistently recently. The Packers did that at the beginning of the season, but recently they've deferred. So if I'm getting half a point and I'm starting with the ball, that's always a play for me in what is basically a 15-minute game. What is a 15-minute game? A half a point, I'm probably going to start with the ball. Bears first quarter plus a half.
Okay. I agree. It's an interesting. So you were on the Packers for a while, if I remember, in the beginning of the season. So you pivoted. That's cool. It's good to know to do that.
Yeah, they stopped taking the ball. They stopped doing it. They deferred against the Vikings. They deferred the last 3 or 4 times they won the toss. So I'm not sure what goes into these decisions. It's interesting. It's something as a bettor. I think if you really study it, Mississippi State does this in college. USC does it in college. There's a handful of teams that do it. I don't think the books always price it properly. So if you can study the habits of who takes the ball first when they win the toss, there's only a few of these teams that are outliers. You can certainly gain some advantage in those first quarters from those derivative markets.
Absolutely. Great advice. I think if your defense really sucks, you try to start with the offense and just hope if you crap out, you get lucky. But, the thing is that defensive field position has been so important because you let them start, they punt to you, and you get usually a better field. But I will say now that the ball's been going out to the 30, 35-yard line a lot more. A lot of times they're pinning you anyway. I think that's really changed the NFL some. And I think, people thought overs so much, Will, because of that new kickoff rule. No, because the first series is punting you down to the 5-yard line. So maybe that's kind of changed a little bit too. I just thought of that. Just maybe I didn't consider that before. Rams, Cardinals plus 8.5, total 47.5. The Rams should be pissed at what happened last week, but that doesn't mean anything really because the Cardinals right now are almost like playing with whatever. I feel the Cardinals will give a good effort. I feel like this is a live betting. If you see the Cardinals kind of keeping with the Rams, then I think the Cardinals might be the right side. But if the Rams just start scoring right away, this could get ugly, Will.
Cardinals are actually, I think, better than the record. Not that long ago, they beat this Cowboys team that everyone loves. They've lost a lot of close games. They've had a lot of games where they dominate the stats but lose. I think if you played the season over 10 times, 100 times, there's a scenario where this is like a 500 team. I don't think they're nearly as bad as their record. That being said, I don't want to step in front of a Rams team off of a loss. I could see this getting out of hand. Remember, this is a Rams team. They're comfortable in that building. They won a playoff game in that building last year against Minnesota that got relocated. I'll give you one, though. Trey McBride, over 72.5 receiving yards. He's been a monster. He has been a target machine. Last week, I think 8 catches for 80-something yards. The prior 3 weeks, he's going over 100 yards. He's getting 10, 11, 13 targets. And that's the big thing. When you're getting double-digit targets, the yards are usually going to come. McBride, over 72.5 yards.
All right, I like it. I think McBride is clearly their best receiver. I've been screaming that for a couple weeks now. And even with Marvin Harrison, it's almost like Marvin Harrison is more of a distraction out there. He doesn't perform like he should, let's say. And I agree with you on that one. The Rams give up a few yards to tight ends too. They're kind of in the middle, but for the amount of respect that the market gives the Rams, it is not adding up. Texans, Chiefs, -3.5. Will. I don't know where this is going to end up. It's just on different books. Let's see what our friends at FanDuel have this at. I think it's the same, -3.5 with the Chiefs. I'm just going to tell you, I've been fading the Chiefs every week, and I've been winning.
Yeah.
But this is the week I'm a little scared because I really believe. I mean, to be honest with you, this Chiefs team, they are frustrating. They are fine winning by 3. But this Houston Texans, when's that offensive line going to catch up with them again? Did they really improve? They're kind of in a letdown spot themselves. The Chiefs are in a home run freaking are you the Chiefs or not spot. Yeah. I want this line is begging me to take the 3.5.
I can only look towards the Texans. This is the 4th week in a row now. The Chiefs have been favored by 3.5 in that range or more. Remember, they lost to Denver, 3.5, 4-point favorites. They lost to Cowboys as 3.5-point favorites, and they should have lost to the Colts as 3.5-point favorites and won by 3. So they haven't covered in any of them. The Texans with that defense is so good, is so elite. I just trust them to keep it close. The Chiefs are battling a bunch of injuries on the offensive line. I'm torn between taking the 3.5 and the under. To me, this is like a 20-17, 21-18 type of low-scoring, close game. I like the under. I like taking the points, but it's a good spot for the Chiefs off of the rest, playing for their season. And this is to me an elimination game. I don't think the winner of this can get off the mat, especially the Chiefs, who have no tiebreaker scenario in their favor. They lost to the Jags, the Bills, the Chargers. If you lose to the Texans now, there's no coming back from this, I don't think. Fascinating game. I could only look towards taking the points in the under.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's. I'm going to watch this a little bit longer. The creative spot of betting these NFL games has really been sticking out. But I'll tell you this: without that left tackle for the Chiefs, that could be really bad against this awesome pass rush, dude. And these Texans have been getting after the quarterback, so I agree. Probably staying away. What about the Monday night game? Chargers are hosting the Philadelphia Eagles after losing to Bear Down, my friend. Bear Down at this total 41.5. What do you think about this one?
What is wrong with the Eagles? I'm not sure. I'm not looking to lay points to them on the road. I don't really, if I had to do it, I'd take the points with Herbert. I don't love the idea that he's got a broken hand, even though it's his non-throwing hand. Hurts over 28.5 rushing yards. If there's any way to juice up this offense, Hurts is so good with his legs. They're not doing anything creative in terms of the motion or getting people open. I would think with extra time off, they figure out a way to create some wrinkles where Hurts runs the ball more of a threat that way. Maybe that opens things up in the passing game. So I like Hurts over rushing props. I lean towards the Chargers, but haven't bet it either way.
I like the Chargers plus the 2.5. I took +3 and a much better number. And I think Herbert's fine. He's going to play. This is Monday night. He's got an extra day. I mean, this Eagles offensive line is not as good. You can even tell with the tush pushes, and teams are figuring out how to strip, Hurts like the Bears did last week. And their coach is massively outcoached, in my opinion. I don't think Sirianni's that great. I think that Jim Harbaugh is, and I think this is a home run spot for the Chargers to say that they're back for real. They have had their offensive line woes, but I'll tell you this: the Bears really threw around that defensive line for the Eagles last week, and that was embarrassing for the Eagles. And even this Chargers running game is pretty good. I'm going to go with the Chargers and take the points. So that's my final play.
Could certainly understand it. Yeah.
Next segment, my friend. Any NFL futures, and should we just go with Colts to miss the playoffs?
Colts to miss the playoffs is one I like. +240. I mentioned it. They've got the Texans, the Jags twice, the 49ers, and the Seahawks. I mean, that's possibly 2-3, 1-4. That +240 is a pretty nice price. I'd love to give something out a little juicier.
No, that's great. I love that.
I'll give you one more. I want to go for a little bit more of a home run. I don't think this is a two-horse race with May and Stafford. If Stafford doesn't win the division, May has not really had that Heisman moment, so to speak. Could Dak Prescott at like 13-1, 15-1, could he creep his way back in the mix with a win tonight? Maybe a chance to get back and win that division. And the media seems to like him. He's never won that award. It'd be a great story if they won a division. I think there's some value there at Prescott at double-digit odds for MVP.
Absolutely. What's him with Love? Who's got better, him or Love?
He's slightly ahead of Love. I think that Love is in that 17 to 19-1 range. Of course, shop around, and Prescott's more in like the 13-1, 15-1 range. So a couple bucks cheaper on Prescott. Prescott's a little shorter.
Interesting.
I thought of Love too, though. Love's one I thought of too. There's these awards change so quickly and so rapidly that to me, it's too quick. Even though there's only 5 weeks left in the season, there's still a lot of time. We've seen it with other awards in past years. There's still a lot of time where it's just, all right, it's definitely May or it's definitely Stafford. These things change quickly. Somebody has a 4 or 5 touchdown game, or May has a bad game. Stafford just had a bad game. I don't think this race is over. I don't think May is really lighting up, the stat sheet like a typical MVP either.
No, I agree with that. He's definitely not. So that is interesting. All right, Love. Woo! It's funny. I think Love's the favorite this week. And do these odds change if Dak loses and Love wins? I wonder.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's
absolutely.
So that's kind of one thing to look at too. It would take the Rams collapse. Man, I'm already invested in this. You know that. I got Stafford. I got. It's like, do I add another one? I'm gonna think more about.
What if they don't win the division? What if Seattle wins the division? Are you really going to give it a wild card?
I know, and the Packers
that doesn't go to a wild card.
And the Packers might get the number 1 seed. And then the Cowboys might win the division too. So I like both what you're saying. I think the only two bettable ones right now are Prescott or Love. So I'm loving what you're talking about there. anything in the college championship week coming up?
Boy, we could this could be its own podcast, and we could go for hours about the committee, who's in, who's out, who deserves to be in. We'll just keep it on the field. You know what? You want a game, or do you want a make the playoff prop, or both? I'll just give them both. I like Indiana plus the points. Maybe a little bit of a letdown for Ohio State after beating Michigan for the first time since 2019. Ohio State, look, they're the best team. They're the favorite. They're the clear favorite, undefeated, national champion, all that stuff. Ever since the Texas game, and Texas outgained them, they've played a pretty soft schedule. So I don't mind taking Indiana plus the points. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a little bit of a trap spot for Ohio State, who has seen, we don't need to win the Big Ten to win the whole thing. They saw that last year. So, and plus, Indiana is really damn good. I like Indiana plus the points. And I think it's come down a little bit. Miami is still that 5-6 to 1 range to make the playoff. They beat Notre Dame. If Duke wins the ACC title game, they're not going to put Duke in. Do they really want to leave the ACC out entirely? I'm not sure. Do they really want to look at Miami and say, you know what, you beat Notre Dame in a high-profile game week 1, but we're not going to give you credit for that. That's going to discourage teams from playing high-profile games, which I don't think they want. I don't know that it's likely. I don't know that it's a coin flip. I know our buddy the Bear, Chris Felica, is on a personal crusade, a personal campaign to get them in. I hope he gets his way. I hope I agree with him. I think Miami is worth a bet there in that 5-6-1 range to make a playoff.
I love it. There you go. I think that they would flip it. Maybe. I mean, it would be so embarrassing to say, don't schedule anybody. Don't schedule anybody. I mean, look at Texas scheduling Ohio State. Screwed them. I mean, it's the number one freaking team in the nation. You don't even count that as a loss if it's the number one. This is absolutely insane that they're doing this to Miami. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think Texas deserves. I think the safest bet for the committee is to screw the SEC and say Georgia, Alabama playoff game, because if Georgia loses again, they lost to Alabama twice. There's no reason to be in the playoffs when Alabama's in it. And if Alabama loses, you lost to Florida State, dude. That's a much worse loss than Notre Dame had. It's like
that's the other one. I think Georgia's safe. If I'm Bama, don't get blown out. Because Saban's not there anymore. I think with Saban, they would never leave him out. They would say, you know what, we can't use the title game against you. But here's the thing, like, if the title games don't count towards the playoff, if they can't hurt you, which I get why they don't hurt you, because why would I play the game if it's going to hurt me? What is the point of playing these games? We know it's money, but I don't know. I wonder if we come a point where I don't think they'll get rid of the title games because they make so much money. But if we're not supposed to honor the result, if we're not supposed to weigh the result and the result doesn't matter, what are we doing this weekend?
I mean, how can it? And also, you use it to help someone. When Clemson beat SMU last year, it put both of them in. I mean, if the Big 12 is smart, BYU, even though I think BYU gets blown out personally, but I mean, that's the smart move. It's a situation where they're not going to screw the SEC because they're in bed with the SEC, and that's the fraudulent part of this whole thing, and it punishes other schools. But the thing is that they could get out of it by saying the SEC gets 3 teams in, that winner and that. And I like John Gruden's idea. He said, and that's not, we've actually kicked around it before, but you use some of the conference championship games, and some of them are guaranteed, even with a loss like the SEC, the Big Ten, they're going to be in. But you use the other ones as playoff games up to 16 teams, and it would have actually made a shit ton of sense this year because you're punishing people for the less rest playing a conference championship game. I don't think Georgia doesn't even want to be there. It's like, why do they have to bother with this, right? It makes no sense. And so lots to fix in college, and we can rant about it forever. Beer bet bangers, any plus money bet. I'm going to go with Texas Tech to win it all at 11-1 for my beer bet banger. This is why, Will. I looked at the second round, okay? The second round of the playoffs, and they're all hard games. Even Ohio State has to play Georgia or Alabama, right? I mean, all these games are difficult. And sure, Texas Tech's going to get Oregon most likely. They're the 6th seed or 5th seed, or no, they're the 4th seed, and Oregon's the 5th, right? Oregon's got the nice, beautiful 5th seed that they want. But, if you look at the rest of the games, Indiana versus Notre Dame, I mean, that I have Notre Dame as one of the best teams, Georgia or Alabama has to play Ole Miss. That's not fun, and none of them likes them so much this year anyway. I just feel Texas Tech has the same path as anybody else, really, to get to the championship. And why are they the 6th worst odds at FanDuel here? So I like Texas Tech 11-1 just based upon they're getting a bye anyway, Will.
Don't disagree with it. I feel like a little FOMO here because I've missed the best of some better numbers, and that's a team that I really thought was underrated this whole time, and they are underrated. They just cover the market. Doesn't matter what numbers they are, they just cover all of these numbers. So I'm with you, and just hearing about these playoffs, as much as we complain and we get mad about the seed in the bracket, who's in, who's out, just thinking about Alabama, Ohio State round 2, or Georgia, Ohio State round 2, and some of these matchups. And if you love college football, if you love sports, it is going to be awesome once we get these matchups settled and finalized. We see the bracket, and we get to watch these awesome games. I wish they would do, not to go on for a rant, but I wish they do more of these games on campus because the atmosphere is awesome.
Right.
That was great last year, even though it was all chalk and the games that round weren't that exciting. But it really is a great time of the year.
Will, you're the best. Where can our listeners and viewers get your great information in place?
Yeah, should have been more podcast. Doing a giveaway right now. You leave a review on Apple. Giving away $250, picking 5 different winners. So go leave a review on Apple. And beating the book, Megapod, VSiN. I'm Fox Sports. I'm around. So hit me up at Not the Will Hill as well.
Well, make sure you look up my 5-star review. It's back there somewhere, Will. All right.
There you go.
Make sure you check out Will from the Should Have Bet More podcast. We'll be tweeting. Best of luck to you, Will. Now it is time for our Refuse to Lose teaser. That is 5-8 this year after the Eagles completely lost to the Bears by a lot. Thank God I had at least a +7 on the Bears. Anyways, doing a 2 6-point teaser because I like Seattle here to win the game. Atlanta's really good at covering, but Seattle's getting some secondary back, and I just think better coach, take the teaser down to 1. And Jaguars all the way up to 7.5 at home against the Colts. Colts have problems. Colts have issues. Don't know what is going on with that team. They're powerful, but it seems like teams are figuring them out. Can I completely trust the Jags? No, I can't. But I can tease them up to 7.5 and hope for the best. So let's do that for 2 stars. All right. That brings us to UFC 323. And this is a great card. I wish that it wasn't going on during college football conference championships. Merab Dvalishvili against Peter Yan. This is getting out of hand, especially for a lightweight fight like this. What's funny is that when it comes to lightweights, they're so light, just crazy things can happen. They get out of each other's grappling. They punch and it doesn't affect them that hard. So it's like, what was that? Was that really significant? So I feel like when the dog's becoming bigger and bigger, it makes you like them more. And same with the heavyweights because, knockouts happen a lot in heavyweights. So it's kind of one of those things that the edges of these sports and weight classes lean more towards these dogs. But Peter Yan, all the way up to +320 now, and it's really hard for me to not bet him. I love Merab. He's a showboat, though, and he sometimes can get a little too cocky, and Peter Yan says he was hurt in the last fight. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Jan's a badass too, but it takes Yan a while to get going. And you know what? Jan's going to have to win 3 rounds. This thing's going to 5 rounds. It's going the distance, and he's going to lose the first one because that's what Yan does. But, Yan gets stronger and stronger as the fight goes on. Oh, I don't know. It's going to take a little bit more than me to get to this number, but I can't do anything with -500 with Merab. It's not even really parlayable for me in such a weird situation here where there are such lightweight fighters in the Bam Tam 135 weight class. The next fight, Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Van +200, Pantoja -280-ish. I mean, this I have a premium play on, and it's my best play, so I can't discuss it here. I am very interested in watching this fight. I think you have an up-and-coming fighter and a true champion against each other, so that's all I'm going to say. Don't want to give out too many tells. The next fight, I do have a price on at -125 on Tatsuro Taira, and I do like him a lot against Brandon Moreno. Look, Brandon Moreno getting to 31 years old. Tatsuro Taira is 25. Moving up him up. Taira 17-1. Moreno 23-8-2. Moreno had his time. I think his time is over. This is not like this fight's in Mexico. This fight is in the United States. Tyra has just been smoking people. I tried to fade Tyra recently. It did not work out for me. I know that Moreno beat up Steve Erceg, but Erceg has his own problems and his own confidence problems, and he has all kinds of problems when he gets in the ring against bigger competition. But the whole Royval fight with Tyra, I thought that was a very close fight. I thought you could also give it to Tyra, and if there was more rounds on this fight, I give it to Tyra. Tyra just fought Heinsohn Park and crushed the shit out of him. I literally just neck cranked him. I think he's kind of on the up and up still. And Brandon Moreno, as fast and as shifty as he is, he's been popped before, and he's lost a couple fights over his last 4 or 5. I think Moreno's now in for a check. He already was the champion. Tyra is the hungrier fighter. We're laying minus 125 here on Tyra for 1.5 stars.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
All right, well, next fight, we have Henry Cejudo against Peyton Talbot. I think Cejudo is also just completely trashed in this. He's not wrestling enough. He's a good wrestler, but I'm not even sure if he still has that or the gas tank left. And Peyton Talbot at 10-1 from the USA. Well, both are from the USA. Cejudo's right down here in Arizona. Talbot's just the better fighter at this point. He's 6.05 significant strikes, 3.82. At minus 285, he's kind of a parlay piece. I didn't find a good dance partner for him yet. I'll probably look a little bit more in the morning, but a situation where I just think Cejudo is kind of past his prime, and Cejudo should lay down pretty well to Talbot. Talbot's had his ups and downs in his career. But situation where I think the 10-1 kid's going to come up big. John Blachowicz versus Bogan Guskov. So this is one where I'm also fading the older fighter, 9 years older, John Blachowicz at 42. He did really well in his last few fights. I will admit that. I also discussed this with Lou Finicaro. So a little bit of a warning. Lou's a better than I am and a better knowledge when it comes to MMA, but I just can't not fade at plus money a John Blachowicz that I feel is shot, and you can really see that when he comes up and fight Bogan. Bogan's on a nice little run here. Bogan's not the greatest wrestler, and yeah, he could get in trouble if he gets taken to the ground, but at the same time, he's also submitted a few people himself. And he knows how to do it. He's from Uzbekistan, so I assume that his takedown defense has gotten better. I mean, that's what I'm kind of banking on because that's what I'm going to need here to defeat John Blachowicz. And a situation where Bogan's just going to be the better striker. If John's stupid enough and lazy enough, I would say. I mean, you can say lazy when they get a little bit older. He might just strike with him, which is bad news, in my opinion, for a man that's just going to take a lot on the chin, allows 3.03 significant strikes. He only lands 3.44. Bogan, 3.87 he lands. 51% accurate. Now, Bogan, like I said, this takedown defense only at 50%. That has to get better. But I just think the younger kid comes up and wins, and I like him at the plus 110. Finally, Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. I have a play on this fight too, but it's one of those situations where Torres never gets to the second round, but I think Grant Dawson is the kind of guy that will drag out the fight. And this situation, Manuel Torres, I think finally lasts past the second round. If you look out at him, the under 1.5 is always juice, but I think Torres doesn't get knocked out, and I think that this goes past 7 minutes and 30 seconds, this fight. So this is the other pick that I have, just for the fact that Grant Dawson is not going to succumb to Manuel Torres' hits and will last about 3 rounds. Now it is time for
The Sharp Side of the Force.
Sharp Side of the Force is brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. All right, Sharp NFL. Just a couple here that I like, and not that I like, that I counted. If you ever want to get sharp money, you can get it from places like the Action Network, Vegas Insider. There's 2 on the sides. Vikings minus 1.5 to minus, or it's actually plus 1.5 to -2 I don't understand that move against the Commanders so much. I knew Jaden Daniels was going to play, and he's going to play. 22% of the tickets, 34% of the money. And the Falcons plus 7.5 to plus 7, hosting the Seahawks, 24% of the tickets and 37% of the money. Otherwise, there's a lot of movement on both sides of like these sides of all these games. Sharp totals: Saints Buccaneers under 42.5 to 41.5, 43% of tickets and 52% of the money. And Steelers versus Ravens under 43.5 to 42.5, 46% of the tickets and 60% of the money. I think it's going to snow in Buffalo. This 53.5 can't last long. I expect some sharp money to come in on that. To recap our plays: Bills minus 5.5, Raiders plus 7.5, Chargers plus 2.5. And the teaser was Seattle and the Jacksonville Jaguars. My friends, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Have a wonderful week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the fights, enjoy the games, and go get some winners.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.